well, it almost seems too good to be true. That's right. Because the prosperous truth is too good to be true to the average person who is used to the hard work level of supply. Now, the hard work level of supply is the lesser level. The more you learn these inner laws of prosperity, the more you learn to do what we're talking about here tonight, to create your prosperity mentally first. And remember that your prosperity and your success may be as much as 98% mental preparation and 2% outer action. Recently, one of my readers, who is a psychologist, sent me an excerpt from a book about the psychology of poverty that was very interesting. And the psychology of poverty is this: the poor are so caught up in their present problems that they do not plan ahead or think ahead. Also, they have great hostility and envy toward people who prosper and succeed. The poor are inclined to be suspicious and resentful toward those who succeed in life. All right, what about ourselves? None of us are on a poverty program. But how do we measure up to this psychology of poverty? What about ourselves? Are we so wrapped up in problems of the past or present that we have not taken time to plan for better things? Or are we hostile and envious toward people around us who succeed? Do we criticize them? Have we made unkind remarks about them? How do we feel and how do we react when someone around us has something good happen to them? Can we take it, for instance? You know, in the news recently, Howard Hughes has been quoted as saying many things, but I find it very interesting that in this success philosophy of his, supposedly, that he has talked about this idea of mass envy and of mass hostility toward wealth. There is something to it, because any time that you begin to succeed and prosper in life, you may be a little startled and a little surprised to experience a little envy or a little hostility, perhaps from people that you thought would cheer you on. And so it seems to be a general reaction to people, this psychology of poverty and of failure. Now, remember this, friends, if you have found yourself guilty of reacting negatively to people around you who were prospering and succeeding perhaps more than you were, remember this, that sometimes we're tested. Sometimes the good that we desire in life seems to come to people around us first. Now, if we can praise and give thanks for someone else's good rather than being envious and jealous and critical, then we can be assured that those same blessings or even greater ones are on the way to us. But if we make unkind remarks or hostile toward or envious of other people's good, then we fail the test. And we can stop our own good from getting through to us. Now, a statement that we often use to help us to dissolve envy and hostility and jealousy and criticism, whether it's been reflected toward us or from us, is this: love envieth not, the prospering truth has set me free to prosper. It's a marvelous idea. Love envieth not, the prospering truth has set me free to prosper. Let's declare it together. Love envieth not, the prospering truth has set me free to prosper. All right, now let's give each other this blessing. Love envieth not, the prospering truth has set you free to prosper. Together. Love envieth not, the prospering truth has set you free to prosper. Now, friends, the thing to remember is this. As you view the blessings and the good things that happen to other people, remind yourself that the longer your good is in coming, the greater it will be when it comes. So why envy anyone else their good? Their good wouldn't suit you or satisfy you anyway. Instead, when good things happen to other people, it is an indication that that same good or even greater good is on its way to you. So don't stop it with some type of negative reaction, you see. Don't bother to be envious or jealous or critical about someone else's good. Don't block your channels that way. But know that any good thing that you hear about happening to someone else is an indication it's getting pretty close to you, or you wouldn't have even heard about it, you see. And so your good is on the way. Don't stop it. But remember the statement, love envieth not, the prospering truth has set me free to prosper. And so make your list. And as you make your list, friends, we talked last night about the elimination list. Now we're talking about the second one, writing out what you want to bring into your life tonight. As you make your list, think about what you really want, not what somebody else wants you to have. Make your list and realize that it's already on the way to you by the time you even desire it, you see. And so writing it out helps to bring it into visibility. A businessman up in Illinois one time wrote me a long letter, and he said this business of writing a list of those things that you feel you need in your life works. I have done just that, and success became apparent almost instantly. Since then, everything I have had on my list has come to me. Some of the items were tremendous things, such as an early retirement, so that I might become a public speaker. I am now a lecturer for business groups at $250 a lecture. I also listed an adequate income so that my life might continue normally as before retirement. Even such personal items that I wanted as an expensive travel trailer, a fine motion picture camera, and other such items have come to me. Now you may say, well, this all sounds rather simple and rather childish to me. And you may say, but why are these simple techniques necessary from a mental standpoint? Well, remember this, friends, that the mind of man must look outward as well as inward for balance. The mind is the blending area of one's thoughts and feelings, and you must balance the inner with the outer. That is why we're all here, you see, in a physical form, is to blend the inner and outer phases of our being. Now, to me, there's nothing more pathetic than to see those misguided people who think that they are too advanced, as they say, mentally and so on, to use mind power in such practical ways. Now, again, such people can often give you a lot of high-flung theory, but often such people become confused. They suffer all kinds of needless problems because they aren't balanced. They aren't doing any of these simple things to externalize that mind power, to release it as results and balance in their world. And so dare to do the simple things that lead to prosperity. Make your list of what you really want, not what somebody else thinks you should have. And as you make your list, dare to please only yourself. There is a mystic saying that I like to use and like to think about when I make my list. And the mystic saying is this: the highest is the nearest. The highest good is the nearest good. So do not compromise as you make your list. And don't list what somebody else around you thinks you can have or that you should settle for. But let this be a very private thing that you do. And then keep your list private, friends. Keep it a secret even, because it is in this way that you express constructively rather than suppressing destructively your desires for greater good, which are from the universe. Now, the interesting thing about this list making is this: the very act of list making clears your mind and clears your life. It resolves things for you. For instance, recently I made a list of 3 things that I thought I wanted to experience in my life within a 6-month period. 6 months later, when I looked at my list, I was amazed how it had worked out. The first item on my list had come to pass. It was by far the most important one. The second item had not come to pass, and events indicated that the answer to that desire was no for the time being. And so I just dismissed it in peace, feeling that it would come later, and it did come later, at the right time. As I looked at the third desire on my list, I realized that I had changed my mind completely within that 6 month period, and I simply did not want it, and it had not come. And so one came then, the second one came later, the third one never came because I had changed my mind. But you see, I had been carrying these things around mentally. When I put them on paper, then they began to work out and resolve themselves in the right way. Now, you can test this list making by using it on a daily basis even. A young insurance executive one time said this, "I have bogged down. I now sell more than $1 million worth of insurance each year, and I am a member of the President's Club of my company. But I want to sell at least $2 million worth of insurance this next year and go on from there." And he said, "For several years I've tried to do this, and I can't seem to get over the million mark." Now, I suggested to him that he do several things. First, that he began going to his office an hour earlier each morning, or else go into a quiet area at home, but to do it early, before his secretary arrived at the office, or before the telephone started ringing, or before there was activity in the home, and so on. And that in that early morning hour, he should do this very thing. He should write out a list of the things he wanted to accomplish just for that day. Just for that day. And then I suggested that he use some type of prosperity statement, such as we have on our list here. Now, a week later, he telephoned me, and he said, "It works." He said, "I can hardly believe how much I have accomplished this week easily and peacefully. In one day alone, I sold 2 $50,000 policies, and now I have an appointment to make the biggest sale of my life." He said, "If this keeps up, I am well on the way to my $2 million goal for the year." And later I saw him, and later he did make his $2 million goal for the year. But nothing began to work out until he started writing out his list just for one day, you see, getting definite about one day's accomplishment. And so there are many ways that we can use these ideas. After you make your list, friends, of what you would like to experience in your life, then be ready and willing to change that list as the days pass and as your mind goes to work. Be flexible, be adaptable,